When summer rolls around, what do we start to think about when we think about food? We think about grilling. We can grill outside or we can grill inside. We're gonna go through some steps with you to grill inside on a small hibachi. Before we get to how to grill and what we're gonna grill, let's talk about what we're gonna grill with. So we have 4 examples here of different fuels that we can grill with. So certainly this is solid fuel. This is a piece of hardwood that's obviously been aged, probably oak because we're here in Northern California. So we can certainly use hardwood. Any hardwoods, any fruit woods can be used as a fuel for our grills or for our hibachis or for our barbecues, however you want to talk about it. Here we have some natural hardwood that's been turned into charcoal. It burns very hot, a little over 1,000 degrees, but it's spent fairly quickly. But it's a nice woody flavor in the food that you're going to grill. In much ways that this piece of natural wood is. This is bichitan, which is a Japanese charcoal that doesn't burn quite as hot as this hardwood charcoal, but burns for a lot longer. But also, you can make wind chimes out of it. They do in Japan. This comes from the Wakayama district or prefecture. And make sure that you buy the real one, the authentic bichitan, which does come from Wakayama. There are a lot of other ones out there that don't. We want to make sure that you're getting the right fuel. This is what I grew up on, which is a charcoal briquette made with scraps from wood, sawdust, compressed together, burns very fast. It's not very clean. It does pollute our environment as well as give an off flavor. I think the best use for this is to draw your hopscotch games out on your driveway. Other than that, those are some of the solid fuels that we use for our grilling. We'll get back to, again, some of the things that we do grill. As I mentioned, most vegetables grill really well. We have some padron or shishito peppers here. We have some trumpet mushrooms, some zucchini, eggplant, even asparagus, small asparagus, peppers. Some of the proteins that we have laid out here. We have some beautiful Elysian Fields Farm lamb chops. And we have some of that wonderful sirloin from Snake River Farms. So what flavor do you really want to impart in your vegetables or proteins that you're cooking? I can't really say which one I would prefer for any specific proteins or vegetables. In other words, would I use oak for my lamb and bichitan for my steak? Would I use solid fuel charcoal for my mushrooms or my padron peppers, or would I use real hardwood for my shrimp? It's really up to you. Flavor profiles, and this is what I really want you to understand is I want you to think about the things that you really like. The flavor profiles, the ingredients, the seasoning, all these different elements that come into satisfying your goals, what you want to be eating and the flavors that you enjoy. Of course, grilling outside, you would use whatever dozens of grills that are available for you in the marketplace. You can also use an hibachi outside. So let's get to grilling. Grilling inside, safety. We're doing our bichitan, which is my favorite solid fuel to work with. We have a charcoal starter here, which I think most people are familiar with. We put it on top of a burner. If you're doing this inside, make sure that you have a well-ventilated kitchen and that you're paying attention, okay? It will spark now and then as it starts to fire up, but now as you can see, it's very, not pretty calm, it's very calm. Very hot, you have to be careful there, very hot, and just beautifully glowing in embers there. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in our hibachi. I put this on top of our stove top with the vent over it. And of course the ventilation system is working and we're evacuating any air, okay? Just need to be careful here. So I'm gonna start by removing some of this bichitan and putting it in our bed of our hibachi. can see those beautiful embers. Okay. We'll just go ahead and distribute those nice and evenly. See how beautiful they are. Okay. Now we get to grill some proteins here. Very excited. Our bichitan and our little hibachi is glowing. It's really hot. I can hardly, let me just show you how hot it is. And so how long can I hold my hand over it before I have to move? Let's see, 6 inches. That's it. So is that 2 seconds? Yeah, just to give you an idea. It means you can work with it. I've got a couple different tongs here as well. I've got some really long tongs. I've got some short tongs. I've got some spoons. You can use the bigger tongs if you like, although you know how I feel about those. But whatever makes you comfortable. This is super hot, 700 to 800 degrees. You don't want to be endangering yourself or those around you in any way. I can't stress that enough, okay? We have our air vents here. If we get some flare-ups, we can close them down, prohibiting the oxygen from going in. Normally we keep them about halfway. With a nice airflow in there feeding the coals. We have our little squirt bottle here with some water. In case we get some flare-ups, we'll just hit it like that, and that flare-up will immediately subside. When we're dealing with meat proteins, obviously we have, fat on there. So we're going to see some flare-ups here. We want to make sure that we're prepared to diminish those flare-ups with our water, okay? I'm going to start by just putting some onion rings on. There's some red and yellow onions here. Just a little bit of oil. Again, this is our workhorse natural vegetable oil. A little bit of salt. We're going to do kind of a mixed grill here. So we're going to start just getting some of those on here. Let those cook. It's very calm. You see that there's not a lot of flames. There's not a lot of movement. It's relatively safe when you get to this point. So just keep in mind the flare-ups, especially when dealing with meat proteins. I'm actually going to trim off a little more of this lamb fat right here. I don't really need it, so I'm just going to take a little bit more off of that. Again, preventing those flare-ups, because where there is fat, you are going to have that problem. Okay. So we have a chicken breast here, skin on, a chicken tender, a little wing drumstick, the exterior, the extension of the wing, a piece of sirloin, and of course our Elysian Fields Farm lamb chops. Beautifully dry, and again, tempered. Everything, you've heard me say this before, everything that we're going to cook is always tempered. Go ahead and just brush that with a little bit of oil. Very thin coat. And I can see you got little wafts of smoke there, which is just fine. Now we're going to go ahead and season it. Again, our seasoning process very high up, letting it disperse evenly as it falls through the air. And as you remember, I don't really use pepper to season with. We're going to go ahead and start adding our I'm letting my lamb chops hang over the edge a little bit. My sirloin. Make sure I get that nice and even there. A little drumette. My wing. My chicken breast. My chicken tender. We have here our beautiful Japanese eggplant confit with our garlic confit, little basil from our first masterclass workbook. We have our little, just set that on the side, let that cook really slowly. You can see the quality of that cooking there. It's beautiful. Doesn't give you those grill marks that we see on a larger grate, but when you're dealing with an open fire, you never really see those grill marks anyway. It's only when you have a closed grill where you actually see the grill marks. You can see we have the smoke. Want to make sure you're working in a well-ventilated kitchen if you're doing this inside. Of course, outside it doesn't really matter, but can't stress enough, it needs to be a well-ventilated kitchen, especially when you're dealing with meat proteins that have fat in them. Just move my lamb chops like that. So I love lamb chops with that little handle on there. And just being patient, really. Patient, mindful. We haven't really seen any flare-ups, so I'm happy about that. The bichitan is cooking nice and evenly. I like that. We distributed it correctly. Got some nice glowing coals in there. Your movements should always be defined and disciplined, deliberate. Okay, you shouldn't be moving things around quickly or in any way haphazardly. Remember, you're dealing with very hot coals here. I put the tender over here just because it's almost cooked. I may have put it on later in the cooking process, but because I started to see it getting cooked, I just set it on top of the chicken breast to protect it. I can move these back here a little bit. Move my tender over here. Again, just working the grill, working the grill. Look at that. Oh, that chicken breast now, it's beautiful, crispy on the skin side. Again, I'm really happy we don't have any flare-ups. I'm starting to cook my loin here on its side, even cooking. My onions, and bring those, spread those out a little more. I want to get them cooking faster. Put the more cooked ones on top. I love this chard, and it's that sweetness of a charred onion. That's just so wonderful. Remember in our roasted chicken how we charred those leeks and those carrots and how beautiful they were? The same thing here. I'm going to just bring those way off to the edge here. Lamb chops. Just finishing it up here now. A little chicken wing. A little chicken drumstick there. Some beautiful lamb chops. You see, I'm going to rest that on side there because the large or the wider part of the chicken breast is here, and I want to get that cooked a little more. So I'm using my sirloin to kind of prop that up. Any method that you could employ to achieve what you want to, so certainly I'm wholeheartedly going after that. So surprise, surprise, it's our onions that are taking the longest to cook. Here's another thing that I can realize if I want to. I can set my top of my breast on top of the onions, preventing that from continuing to cook while I cook the bottom. And it's just these realizing, looking at what's going on and going, okay, I need to make an adjustment to be able to cook it the way I want to cook it. And that's something I want you always to be thinking about. What adjustments do you need to make? There we go. We're just finishing it up here now. Okay, so we have our mixed grill here. I'm going to season it with a little bit of gray salt. How much I love this salt. A little bit of lemon juice. Of course, I put a little bit of olive oil on here. A little drop more here, drop more there. And then we'll finish with our beautiful grilled onions here. The aroma here is just, I love this aroma of charred sweet onions. Here we go, our summer mixed grill. Elysian Fields Farm lamb chops, our beautiful Snake River Farm sirloin, wonderful chicken from here in Sonoma, and fantastic grilled sweet onions.